So today we are going to be looking at the navicular, this bone here, and the cuboid, this one here. So these are the next two bones down from the calcaneus, which we looked at the other day. You can see them here together. Now the reason we're looking at both of these at the same time is because a lot of the movements that we're going to be using for the loaded portion of the video, when the navicular is decompressing, the cuboid is compressing, and when this is decompressing, this is compressing, or rather when this is opening up, this is closing up, whichever way you would like to think about it. So we're going to do the manual soft tissue mobilizations first, then we're going to look at some of the loading options. Okay, so this is easiest done in a seated position. We're going to stabilize the back of the heel. So we're going to grab the calcaneus that we were working with the other day. We're going to try and stabilize up into the talus as well, so that we can make sure we're moving across these bones correctly as much as possible, rather than moving the whole of the foot with this manual portion of the drill. We are going to be moving forwards and backwards, so we're going to move up and down in here. So again, focusing on this point here, we're going to do side to side, and then we're going to do rotating in and out. So if you find that there's not a massive amount of movement with each of these, so here, not a massive amount of movement there, although it is loosening up the more we're doing this, not too bad there, or you find that one side is restricted more than the other, then there's likely to be some work that you need to do there. And we can either do that with more mobilizations using the hands to do that, or you can actually use a ball, which I'll chuck in a demo of that at the end of the video. So as we said at the start of the video, when we're working with the navicular and opening that up, the cuboid is actually closing up, and vice versa. We're going to use one movement to work in all three planes of movement. So if you remember our little reminder here, we're moving in this direction, we're moving in this direction, and we're moving in this direction around those three axes. So as we move into pronation, we obviously have the foot forward and backwards, we have the inner portion dropping down as well, and we have internal rotation as at the navicular. We're going to cue all those movements as we do this in half kneeling to begin with, and then into standing. They look exactly the same, so we're just going to do one demo for both. Okay, so we are going to focus on this navicular bone to begin with. So this is on the inside, the big toe side of the foot. So we're going to start with our foot tripod fully engaged. So remember, that is underneath the ball of the big toe, underneath the ball of the little toe, and the anterior portion of the calcaneus. We are then going to lift up into the ball of the big toe. So up onto both big toe balls and then across onto the ball of the big toe. We're then going to be driving back down towards the heel along the medial arch, flattening as you go. So you want to be pulling that arch all the way down into the floor, and there we go. Back into your tripod, up into the ball of both feet, and again round onto the ball of the big toe. We're going to flatten that down, pushing our calcaneus, the heel bone, all the way down and out, so we can flatten that out as best as possible as we do so, and then up into our tripod position. For the cuboid, flip you around so you can see this a little better. It's almost exactly the same. Again, start on our tripod position, up into the balls of both feet. I'm going to come round. Now I suggest doing this as a two-stage process, particularly if you've twisted your ankles a couple of times. It can feel a little uncomfortable if you go straight to the secondary drill with this one. So exactly the same, we're going to be pushing the arch, the lateral arch of our foot all the way down. So the big toe, the medial side of our foot, is suspended in the air as we're doing this, all the way down to the toe. Re-engage the tripod and back up. So that wasn't too uncomfortable, so we're going to go all the way over, right over onto the side of the foot, and exactly the same. Work your way all the way down that lateral edge all the way down to the heel bone, and then back round. So you're going to repeat that as many times as you need to get the mobility in there for what it is that we're trying to do with our feet. There's a little point just there that's not too happy, so I'm just going to hang out there for a second. Now, as I said, if you've had a couple of twisted ankles or a bad twist or a bad sprain, you're going to feel a little uncomfortable doing this because those ligaments probably don't like to be loaded, but actually it's one of the best things you can do for them. By loading, first in half kneeling and then in standing as we're doing here, these ligaments on the outer aspect of the ankle, you're actually strengthening those ligaments, which means that they are less likely to give way, and you have a reduced likelihood of any further sprains or twists. Okay, that feels better, so we're just going to go through there again. One more time. That's much better. Good. Okay, for clarity, I just wanted to show you a different viewpoint. So we're in our foot tripod. We're going to come up onto the ball of the big and little toe. We're going to come across onto the ball of the big toe only, and then we're pushing down and flattening out that medial arch as you push the heel down towards the ground but back out towards the rear of you as well. Re-engage the foot tripod. For the cuboid, very similar. We're going to come up onto the balls of the big and little toes, across onto the little toe, the ball of the little toe, and then down that lateral arch towards the heel to begin with before going back into the tripod. Or for the secondary drill for the cuboid, up onto both, round, fully round, and then down through that lateral aspect of the foot until you reach the heel, and then down into your tripod. Okay, so if you need to help with some movement, range of motion through these joints, and you're still in the manual phase, you don't feel that you're ready to move on to the loading drills, you can use a ball. So I've got a yoga tune-up ball here. You can use a tennis ball, a cross ball, that kind of thing. The reason I like the yoga tune-up balls is they have quite a hard centre, but around the outside of them they're quite soft, which means they're nice and gentle on your tissues. So you want to go ahead and position the ball underneath your navicular, so on the inside portion to begin with, if that's where you've got the restriction. And we're just going to hang out here. So we're just going to use increasing amounts of body weight and take it on, off, just apply pressure to that point. That's going to help get the joint moving. You can then do side to side, forward or backwards. You can do pretty much any angle that you please. If there's one that feels a little bit more uncomfortable than the others, so right there isn't particularly happy for me, you just hang out there a little longer, a little bit of increase in the pressure, see how that goes, come back off, and then see how that feels with the manipulation. For the cuboid, it's pretty much exactly the same drill. You're going to position the ball underneath the cuboid, hang out there for a little bit, and then you can start to introduce the different directions and vectors to make sure that's feeling all nice. Afterwards, go back to your manual work and make sure that it feels good, feels like you've got an increase in the range of motion, and then you'll be able to move on to the loaded drills. I don't know whether to call this bonus content or whether to have it as a teaser for an upcoming video in the future. One of the reasons that you want to make sure that your navicular here is moving well, actually if this gets jammed, and remember that could be a cuboid issue affecting navicular, or it could be anywhere else in the foot, it's going to lead to bunions up here on this big toe joint, which are a problem for a lot of people. So it's really important to make sure that this is moving well. Okay, let me know how you get on.